We are.
Olé.
We've got 7 people in here.
So I needed your presence, so you're over my shoulder.
Oh, like the devil on your shoulder.
Right? No, you're my angel.
Oh, what it is?
Right? Cool. Well, thanks everybody for those that are logging on and in all of the special places out there in social media land. I don't even know what we're all attached to anymore.
Facebook, Instagram, Zoom.
There you go. Facebook, Instagram, and Zoom. I just got everything told to me. So yeah, today's topic is the investors. And we get so many people that ask us questions on that. But first, we should explain, why is Rochelle in a winter coat? And
why are there people with masks behind me?
So give her, Rochelle.
So I'm coming to you live from
Thunder Bay.
Thunder Bay, Ontario. So yeah, we got here last night, stayed overnight, and unfortunately, we couldn't stay longer in the hotel we were in. So that's it.
Nice. Okay. So they kicked you out. You're already rowdy. I'm kidding. Okay. So where do you guys know where you're heading today then?
Further east.
Do you have an end goal, or is it just wherever?
To drive.
All right.
No, we don't.
Fair enough. All right. Well, it's actually, this is fitting because what are you doing out headed towards Ontario? What's your reason for going out there, Rochelle?
So Bailey and I are going to meet with investors, whether investors who already work with us or investors who are wanting to work with us or wanting to find out more about who we are and what we do.
Excellent. So today we're talking about different strategies and different questions and different ways to work with investors, how to talk to investors, and how to gather investors. We get this all the time, right, Rochelle? People will ask us nonstop, how do you guys get investors? And it's funny because I understand kind of where you come from, because when people ask these questions, when you ask these questions, one of the big things is the first one's always the hardest. And Rochelle and I were there. I mean, our first project, finding that investor, the thing is we didn't give up. How many people did we talk to, Rochelle, for our very, 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 very first project?
Yeah, I mean, dozens.
Yeah, there was literally, that's all we were doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big one that a lot of people need to concentrate on, is you just keep asking and keep talking. Because you're going to find a network, or you're going to find somebody, because there's lots of investors out there who understand the numbers and the play in real estate and the things. Sometimes for your very first one, it's harder to get someone who doesn't understand real estate. Our first investor had some understanding of investing in real estate for pairing with us to do a project.
Yeah.
Which definitely, I think, helps in the direction. The project, she could see the numbers. She could just see the project was going to make money, which it did, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's the big one. But let's go through our questions. Rochelle, I'll read them out loud, and then you or I can answer, or both, whatever that looks like. So everybody out there, this is our first time where we're literally provinces apart and doing our EPIC hour. So here we go. What are some different types of investors you could work with? Is there a particular type of investor that EPIC Alliance Inc. seeks out more?
So this one is interesting for us, I think, because we partner with people who are going to be 110% passive, right? So we're looking for people who are leading their best lives and they don't want to do the things. Whereas some other people might be looking for more active partners if they are wanting to do more of the passive side. So for us, yeah, it's kind of a unique strategy. And honestly, for myself, when I meet with a new investor, I prefer somebody who is wanting to learn about private money lending or wanting to learn about investing in real estate, but I actually don't like when they know a lot, because you have to kind of like change the stigma of what private money lending looks like. Or sometimes they come with their own parameters or their own rules, and they're like, well, this is my lending guidelines. If you don't fit in the box, then we don't work together. I'm like, that's fine, then we don't work together. right? Whereas again, now we have the luxury of doing that. Whereas back up to 7.5 years ago, we didn't, and we took anybody's money. But now, we've really narrowed down to, no, we only work with people who are in alignment with our goals, our visions, and our ethics, because we've already played that game and it did not go well. Right. And it was interesting because I actually had a conversation with some real estate investors in Regina last week, and they were talking about how they weren't able to raise capital or find an investment partner or passive investment partner. So they were like, we just funded it ourselves. And I'm like, wow, that's great that you had the luxury of doing that. Alyssa and I never had that as an option. Right. So again, I think that kind of gave us the competitive edge, because there was no backup plan. It's like, no, you hustle till you get it done, because you can't just go buy the thing yourself. So for us, I think that really kind of helped us in the end. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. I think that that real strength for building the rapport and building that communication with investors came out of that. We don't have a plan B. So it just came down to, how do we present this to people so they will understand and give us the opportunity to even help them understand, right?
Yeah.
And it just, I think that there's so many variables there to help you. Again, I don't even like calling them investors. Like we really call it a partnership a lot when Rochelle and I talk, because we really like to concentrate on remembering these are people we are dealing with, right? So learning different types of people. I know I sound like a broken record sometimes, but the facts are the facts. I feel one of the biggest things that helped us back in the day, and still today helps us, was when we took the personality schooling with banks, right? It allowed us to, it was like an aha moment. Rochelle definitely has naturally always been able to do it. It just came easier to explain it to people, to sometimes what we're doing, right? For communication. And what that understanding different people's personalities help and why is because, okay, if I'm going to go sit down and talk to a bunch of, for those that don't know banks, it's blueprint, action, nurture, and knowledge. Okay. If I'm going to go sit down and talk to a bunch of nurturers and all I have are slides on nothing but numbers, they're going to be lost and bored in the first 10 minutes, if that, right? Whereas if I go into a bunch of blueprints with stories of how, we're win-win and high integrity, they aren't going to give a crap. They want to see, how are we strategically putting this in place, right? And then your knowledge people, well, those very rarely turn out to be our people, because they're the ones that are like, they just remind me of giant 2-year-olds. Why? They're just going to keep asking why, right? So, and I mean, action are your ones where it's like, if your first 2 minutes have solid punch and some serious facts and some serious information, they're in, right? And so learning that, I think, is so critical for gathering investors. I think that's the big one that's out there. People forget investors are people, right? You're going to have this conversation. So have a conversation. Stop going in with like, here's how I'm going to do it, right? Back up and actually have a conversation that's going to really take you incredibly far. And Rochelle and I practice this. Rochelle, how many times were we at gas stations, or you're at a gas station, or in a lineup at a grocery store, telling people who you are, what we do, that kind of thing? Oh, I think she froze. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, we have really bad reception out here, so I don't know how that's going to go, but
That's okay. We're good.
yeah, for sure. And for us, like it was really just playing. It was almost like we turned it into a game. I think there was like a 2-month spread there where every single person who I knew was like, hey, try this for me, do this for me, right? And people were like, what the hell? Because in my head, I had already pegged them as what I thought they were. And then I wanted to see how close to reality I was. And even now, when I go and meet with somebody, I can usually within the first 5-minute conversation peg their top 2 traits. And then I basically change my language to talk to them in what is going to make the most sense for them. So back to your knowledge, where we don't have a lot of knowledge people that necessarily invest with us. We do have engineers who are knowledge, but their second is action. So it depends on the way that people are stacked. But if somebody is a knowledge blueprint, I won't even be able to make it through the conversation without crying from boredom. So it just won't work, right? And at the end of the day, for ourselves, Alisa and myself, we know that we're larger than life. We know that we are very action packed and that we pack a lot of punch. And some people just don't resonate with that because we're too much. And that's okay. Those just aren't our people.
Yeah.
Right. So just knowing who's the best fit for you.
Yeah. You actually always had a kind of a good saying there. It came from, I think it was Lisa Nichols. You watched that one YouTube video about if you're too bright, it was all about.
Yeah, the whole thing. It's I think it was one of her talks. I don't know if it was a TED talk or whatever, but she's amazing. And she said, I'm not going to dim myself for somebody else. Just put on your shades. Right. And I love that because that's it. I'm like, I'm truly showing up authentically as me. And if that makes you feel weird or feel some sort of way, you feel all that, but it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Cool. So, and then for our next question, without a known brand or product, how did you find your initial investors for E.P.I.C Alliance's first homes? Those are, we just sold ourselves. You are the brand. Like Rochelle said, we sat down and we just had these conversations and we said, look, we took this education, we're working with mentors, we're doing these things. We sold ourselves at that time. Definitely that evolves and changes. We don't sit down and do that to people. We show them our product brands and we show them our E.P.I.C Alliance brand now, right? We are a team of 80. We are these things, right? Your brand is always, the starting point is you, and then it builds out from there.
Yeah. And for us, I mean, for the first, it would have been the first $2 million of capital raised. We didn't even have a website. It was me, Alisa, and our business card.
What do they call that? Okay, I think it's guerrilla
Marketing, basically.
We were massive gorillas, and I'm proud to say it.
Not gorilla like that, but you know. So at the end of the day, for us, we knew that we just had to get out there and tell everybody who we were and what we were doing. And what is so interesting is, and again, this has been a journey, right? But a lot of people have heard about us. Oh, I've heard about you. I've heard about them, but they don't actually know what we do. So it's great that they heard about us, but our branding was so weak that nobody actually knew what we did. So that has been an evolution. So all of a sudden, we're like, now we simplify real estate investing. You know, investing with integrity, it's the E.P.I.C way. We are essentially a one-stop shop for people who are tired of not making good double-digit returns investing in things. So we are an alternative for people who want to invest in real estate, but they want to not have to do any more of the things. So that's where they partner with us, right? So it's trying to like really fit into who we are and what we do. And that took a lot of time because Alisa and myself can do so much with residential real estate. So we're like, we'll do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. But we realized through time that that was not the best and most efficient use of our time. And again, this came really by having the right coach and being like, focus, 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 you know. And that one analogy that Jen used that really honed it in for me was, okay, so if you wanted to water a lawn, a big, large area, you would use one of those sprinklers that is going to water, you know, the entire lawn. If you wanted to water one specific spot on that lawn, what would you use to hit that? Well, you'd use a garden hose, right? It's focused. You can direct it in one specific attention and you're going to be able to take all your energy and focus in that one area. And so for us, I was like, yeah, we just got to scale down and get into like really the meat and potatoes of what we want to do. And then from there came to the journey to $1 billion and all the other things that have kind of, you know, just really came into play.
So the next question is, now established, what provides your most consistent stream of investors?
For us, it's word of mouth, really. Like, you know, we launched the affiliate army to give more people really hands-on tools to be able to best share our opportunities. But it's word of mouth. We've paid out over $500,000 in referral fees since we started our company. Like when I tell people that, they're like, what? But that's always been the way. Like for us, we're all about win-win opportunities. So if we're winning by doing more deals, why wouldn't we spread that wealth? Right. And that's been our motto since the beginning. We've always paid for leads. And, you know, it's something that has happened organically, but it's the compound effect. It's happening more and more and more.
Yeah. And I think that obviously that'll keep adapting in time too, I think the biggest reason that that word of mouth is so huge is because, again, our foundation was hugely based on that guerrilla marketing. And it's been the one that we've put the most energy into. Let's just be real, right? That is shifting and changing it, over the next 6 months, seeing what changes in our social media platforms and what gets put out there, I think is going to also shift that to some degree. It'll be interesting. I think the next 12 months, it's going to be really interesting how that may potentially shift.
Yeah, and we'll always have the affiliate army and the referral program because that's always served us well, and it's, helped generate a lot of wealth for a lot of other people. But at the same time, you're right, Alyssa, we're going to be doing more sponsored ads on social media, and now we're getting a larger presence online, and people are starting to take note. Who are these girls in Saskatchewan? Why are they heading into the States now? This was never an opportunity. I'm American. This has never been open to me before. All of a sudden, people are like, wait, what? I've never heard this term before, hassle-free landlord program. I'm just aware of a turnkey rental opportunity. Wow, when I can take the risk out of it and still get all the upside, I love that, right? So it's literally shattering people's paradigms of investing in traditional real estate, which is super exciting for me. Anyway.
Awesome. No, it is. And I think, and I mean, the changes are real. I mean, the guerrilla style now is incredibly difficult because of the changes with what's happening in the world, right? So again, this is why we're changing. And, I think anyone who spends any time with us has heard us say pivot and adapt, right? What worked for us may not work for you. You have to figure out, who do you gravitate with? Who do you resonate with? And again, I can't stress enough. You're sitting down and you're having conversations with people. You really need to remember that, number one. So we also have, what do investors want to hear when learning about your pitch? I think that ultimately the first thing to do is actually listen to what the investor has to ask, right? Because when we go in, and Rochelle can define this even better than I can, but I know for me, when I go in and I'm asking, like sitting down with somebody, one of my first questions I'll ask is, well, what do you actually know about real estate investing or our products, right? And if they go, well, I just know you're Epic Alliance and I know you're in real estate, well, then I know where I need to start from for explaining things, right?
Mm-hmm. And going back to our basic discovery session phone calls, our number one thing that we ask for is, what is it that you're wanting? What is it that you're looking for? Is it cash flow to replace your income from your job? Is it, an extra stream of income so that you can put your kid through college? Is it just that you're not even worried about more money right now, but you're worried about wealth building and making sure that your retirement accounts are topped up, right? Is it that you're in the highest tax bracket and you're looking for some tax advantage plays? Like, everybody has a why as to why they're investing, but everybody's why is different. And so if we know what people's goals are, then we can, and then we know what they're working with, we can literally set up a blueprint or a map to get them to their future financials faster than they even dreamed. And that is my favorite part of what we do, because it's not a just, one shoe fits all type thing, or one thing you got to fit in the box and whatever. It's customized based on our clients' wants and needs, which I think is very special.
Yeah, and there's obviously some finite rules for when you're sitting down and doing these things. And we really, we talk about sales and all the things in our office, but honestly, we talk more about serving. That's what Rochelle's describing. We're there with an amazing product to serve people. If they're not interested, there is no point in trying to force it into their head or whatever. I mean, how many times, Rochelle, have you just planted a seed, or as we say, planted a seed in somebody, and then it's a year later before you're even hearing from them?
Yeah. And Bailey and I do calls all the time with people, and we give them the information, maybe give them the webinar presentations, give them the investor PowerPoint presentation. And we always say, you know where to find us. So if you're interested in working with us, by all means, reach out again. We are not going to hound you. We are not going to send you, put you on our mailer and send you a weekly email being like, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? How about now? But you know how to find us. We're everywhere. And there's a reason we do that, because you'll never find somebody who invested with us that felt that says they felt pressured. I'm like, dude, we didn't even call you. Like, you called us. So how pressured could you have been? Right. And there's a reason for that. So during this whole COVID, meltdown and all this shifting and turning into this new world, whatever we are heading into, our new norm, we had 2 investors wig out and pull their funds, right? They broke contracts. I said, that's fine. Give me 2 weeks. I'll get you your money back. But just so you know, you're dead to us and you can never bring your money back and invest with us again because you committed to something and then you broke your word. And in our opinion, the way we run, our word is our bond. You don't do that. That's not an integrity. So I said, I'll get you your money back. You can take it back. You invest it wherever you want, put it under your mattress, whatever makes you feel good at night. But here you go. So out of hundreds of investors, we had 2 that got wiggy. That's it. Talk about how amazing is that? I expected that there might be some more coming through the pipeline. And honestly, when you deal in integrity and people are in the same alignment as you, like they know that we're a good place and a safe place for them to be investing. And you can't pay for that, right? But it's because we've always paid every single one of our investors every single penny of principal and returns, and we've never shorted anybody. And so that, there's always another way to make a buck. But for us, our investors have always come first, because without them, we wouldn't be who we are, we wouldn't be what we are, and we wouldn't be able to continue to grow and flourish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you answer the next question with that. How can you tell if an investor will be the right fit? It's that give and take. I honestly, we understand our first set of investors. Absolutely. Like we did the yes ma'am, I'm trying to be politically correct here and not say bent over backwards, but like those kinds of things.
We went away from our principles to get the dollars.
Exactly. Initially. And do we regret that? No. Did we learn from that? 100%. And I think that is absolutely the biggest thing out there is take what you learn and make sure you bring it back to build your foundation, but once you've decided that's what it is, you don't go back. Once we decided, okay, this style of investor is not for us, we've never gone back. It just doesn't happen. And we do not look back or go, well, maybe. No, it's no.
No. And I have this discussion with Bailey all the time, because Bailey is amazing, but she is definitely way more empathetic than I am. And so she always wants to serve people as best they can, which is amazing. And we love that about Bailey. But at the same time, there's certain flags. And I know this because of experience, where I'm like, just let them go. And she's like, well, and I was like, just let them go. Right. And originally when Bailey came on, that was something she had to learn, because I was like, they're not our people. And she's like, but maybe. I was like, it's not worth it. And then, you go through a few more meetings and you realize, yeah, they weren't our people. But I picked that up in meeting number 1. And, sometimes Bailey's got to pick that up a little bit down the road, but it's a learning process. But again, when people are coming from like a sales perspective, where they're like, but we got to get the sale done, we're not like that. I'm like, if it's not in alignment, I don't give a shit about the money. Sorry, not sorry. Let it go.
Good money. It's not good money. It's there's no point. I mean,
yeah.
Rochelle and you and I sat down and we went this direction. I mean, I think that was one of our biggest bondings in our foundation, was that we both agreed, that our morals and values had to align with the others that we're doing business with. And that goes for investors, right? We've seen some shady shit flat out. And we just look at each other and go, yeah, out of here. Like, just not happening. There's too much money and too many good people out there to educate and help them elevate to being better in the investment world without having to go to dirty tactics. Neither one of us is interested in that. And it's taking us places, right? Yeah. Has our growth been a little slower than we like? Absolutely. But you know what? Here's what I like. If you compare a lot of businesses, they go like this. And if you look at us, it's just like this, right? Like, there's not this big blip. And I think the big blips come from you're not being true to yourself. So bam, you drop, and then you gotta pick it up and you gotta do it again, right? Whereas us, we've stayed very true, and obviously there's growth and things that cause some of that formatting to have to pivot and adapt and all those things. But yeah, it's what really helps us keep our investors.
Yeah. Do we have any questions from anybody? Because we're at
30 minutes, and I do have a comment here. It's from Barbara. The fact that you don't apply pressure and flood my inbox daily makes you stand out. This is appreciated more than you know. So pretty cool.
That's awesome. And again, that's always been our principle, right? We'll attract the right people who are meant to be with us. And that's it.
Absolutely. And so our next question on our forum is, how can one best retain investors? I think we covered that a little bit, but to go deeper, I think people can't look at investors as toss away. And we know people like that. It's like, meh, we went into business together. Meh. Yeah, you borrowed money from people to make a product go. And if it falls, why is the investor on the line for that? Right? We've always done that. We've always made sure our investors get paid before we do. Always. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why, again, to each their own, but to me, it doesn't make logical sense why anyone would go into investing like that, where, hey, I'm with someone, and if it goes sideways, well, I'm just out, right? No. Why wouldn't you look at companies like ours where it's like, hey, if something goes wrong, what happens? And it's like, well, we've taken money from other projects to make sure that investors get paid. That's the question you should, as an investor, you should be answering or asking. And I mean, like Rochelle and I have been there. We've done projects where it's like, damn, this one ain't going to make us any money. But luckily, all these ones over here are, not luckily, strategically, these other ones are making money. And you know what? Great. We're going to take that and we're going to pay those investors. I'll put it in our pocket. Put it in the pocket.
And that's by design. We always knew we were never going to strike gold on 100% of the deals. But if we do good on 90 and there's 10% that have not gone great, that's okay, because we're still making money as a company. And for us, that's really all that mattered. And it's also because we've always paid the investors a set return. It's easier for us. So this could be a nugget for people who are trying to raise capital and think that joint ventures are the only way you have to go, or, whatever. Sometimes people get lost in the minutia and they don't think about all the win-win strategies. Sometimes if you just say, hey, look, this is exactly how much you're going to make during this deal, people are looking for that, especially right now in a very uncertain world, to know that you're going to be making 10% or 12% or 15% annual rate of return, instead of going like this in the stock market and being like, I don't know, maybe you'll be able to retire in 5 years, maybe not, right? That is really the change. And so that's why for us, we, in year 2, we went back to no more joint ventures. Let's just pay a set return, because it's a really easy way to be investing or paying people back. We know exactly what our cost of borrowing is, and they know exactly how much they're going to make. Boom, the numbers are the numbers. So,
for sure. We got a question from Social Land. Their name is anonymous. Are there any specific red flags that an investor might show? Would you like to?
So again, this is going to be case specific, but for us, we have very specific ways that the processes are. This is not our first rodeo. We do this daily, right? And so we're like, okay, we'll walk people through the process, and we're like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You got to work with our mortgage. This is hassle-free. You got to work with our mortgage brokers. We're going to line you up with our property. We're going to give you 3 appraisals to review. From there, you pick one house, Then we're going to put you in touch with our mortgage broker. Insurance broker we work with, and our lawyers we work with. You can choose to work with other people, but I guarantee you, if you work with our team, things are going to be really, really smooth and pretty flawless. I mean, you're buying a house. There's still work to be done. But sometimes people will be like, oh, well, no, I have my own team. I want to work with all these other people. So that's a red flag for me, because it's telling me that they're a control freak and they want to be in control of the entire process. And so for me, again, we go through it case by case, but that's a red flag for me. Secondly, it's going to be if we send them 3 appraisals to review of properties that they are in their price point and they come back and say, none of these work for me, let's just not do business then. I gave you 3 options. You should have been able to pick one, right? So these are just little things. That's for hassle free. Whereas if we're talking about Fundaflip, for there, a lot of times if people are like, well, I need to know all these things to do with the house. I want to know, how many beds and baths, who's going to be renting there, how much you're going to be renting for, what are you putting into it, la, 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 what color's the tile backsplash, all that stuff. Sorry, we're just going to cut this off of the pass because I'm not going to give you that. I will give you the address. I will tell you what we paid for it. I'll tell you what we're putting into it. And I'll tell you the ARV. That's it. If you need to know anything past that, go work with a different investment company then, because I don't got time for that. And again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Not a big deal, but that's the way it works in our company, because I don't have time to chase all that.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. Those are just their parameters in their boxes, and sometimes those just won't align. Anyone who goes into any kind of business or you're trying to serve others with a product, if you're going to go out there with the idea that every single person is your client, or every single person's going to need your product, you're going to crash and burn. You really do need to figure out who your avatar is. Who and what do these people do? Who will appreciate this product?
Yep. And so for us, that's where we really targeted. We are looking for people who are so busy. Again, we say leading their best life. And it's funny, we've tried to work with different marketing companies and they're like, but who is that? Like, are these working people? Are these people who are running businesses? Are they this? Are they that? Or whatever? And I'm like, I don't know anybody who's really busy leading their best life. Everybody's best life is different. I don't know what to tell you. Right? We have working people, we have retired people, we have all of these sorts of different things. What does that look like? And there's no one specific avatar. And for us, that was kind of our biggest struggle, is like everybody's version of their best life is different. I don't know what to tell you. But when we talk to people and say, if you're so busy that you don't have time to be an active investor, but you should be investing in real estate, those are our people.
But that's still a narrowed down demographic.
But not enough for marketing companies.
Yeah.
Which is where the struggle is real when it comes to us, right? Like we've had to bring our marketing in house and try to kind of create this thing that wasn't a thing.
Yeah. And we're doing it.
We're doing it, but it's again part of that learning curve.
So with portions of this, the next question is, how important is your relationship with investors? And what kind of things do you do to ensure that the relationship is positive and long lasting?
So for us, I think right from the get-go, it comes down to we care, right? We accept that we are taking people's money and putting it to work. And that money, in some cases, could be a little or it could be a lot of their net worth or what they have to invest. It doesn't matter if it's a little or a lot. We look at everybody the same. You literally decided to invest in our company. You have faith that we're going to do what we say and say what we do. So that is the responsibility, which is massive. And we completely appreciate that. So there's a respect there. But secondly, from there, it comes down to communication is key. So right now, every investor has either Alisa, myself, or Bailey's number, and they know that they can get a hold of us at a moment's notice if necessary. And that communication has definitely set us apart from a lot of other real estate investing companies. I know some other people who had said that they had invested with us and they invested with some other companies heading into COVID. And there was other companies where they knew investors were pulling their funds like crazy. Why? Because these people were on vacation and they didn't really necessarily do the hands-on of their business. And these people felt very uncertain heading into a more uncertain time. And these people at pulling funds can crash a business, right? So because everybody knows, hey, we're only a phone call away and we'll address your concerns, as soon as possible. People love that. And I've had people say, I would rather invest with you because you're so hands-on and you're so available than with somebody who I know is not available on the weekends or not available in the evenings or not, so readily in front of us. And that I think is something that sets us apart. And then the other side of it is just, again, it's just fostering those relationships, right? So we are there, but we don't hound people.
No, and I mean, yeah, like, and the way to do that is like the Christmas cards we send every year, and then you guys did the program there in the spring with the 50 houses in 60 days, and the certificates we put out, and acknowledging again, it goes back to that acknowledgement that they are important to us because without them we'd be nothing, right?
Totally.
And we stay humble to that. We know that. Yes, we're the action part. Yes, we are active. Yes, we are the ones that are boots on the ground. But ultimately, we can run and do all the things. But if we didn't have a reason to do all the things, it's done, right? The investors are why. And there's nothing Rochelle and I love more than when an investor calls and says, oh my God, or emails or texts or whatever that looks like, and says, oh my gosh, so happy I did this. It's changed our life or my life or our family's life, right? And that's, that, like, I'm getting goose pimples, like it just goosebumps, like it just, that is the best part. I was able to retire from that job 3 years sooner. I was able to help a sick child. I was able to, your money was steady. It was there. That is the stuff that, is just everything to us. And so, I mean, for all investors out there that are listening, don't ever hesitate to send us or email us anything great that's come out of your opportunities that you're partaking with this company, because that is such fuel for our souls, and we just appreciate that. And that is so true.
I can't even think of, I know there was quite a few people who reached out during the whole COVID thing and basically said, you guys were the only like beacon or the only certain thing that I had in a very uncertain time, with people losing their jobs, people, sometimes having to move, relocate, housing, or whatever that looks like. And just a lot of uncertain things happening. A lot of people are still active investors as well as passive when they're just balancing out their portfolio. So they knew the rent from us was going to come in every month, even though their active investments might not have been paying, right? So that was just amazing. And I was like, wow, that's exactly why we do this. So we're super appreciative for that. And it kind of was the reason we started doing these epic hours, actually, is we had so many people reaching out and they're like, I just, I love getting on the phone with you and I, dropping nuggets or whatever their takeaways are. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, Alisa, if I can't be on the road meeting with investors, why don't we do this? And it's fun for Alisa and myself too, because we don't really get to do a lot of things together. So for 1 hour a week, we get to come together, even right now when we're not even in the same province, right? But it was just a fun way. And I think our banter and our communication and relationship is really interesting, and people see that and they're like, wow, this is a really good balance, right? We always say we're two halves of the same brain. And I think a lot of people see that when we like finish each other's sentences or whatever. But yeah, so again, it's just that communication and being authentic, I think, is really something that sets us apart.
And I couldn't ask for a better work wife. So awesome.
Likewise.
So how important is presentation and attitude when first meeting with potential investors?
So for myself, I spent most of the time on the road with meeting investors one-on-one type thing. And I always tell people, I'm like, just so you know, like Alisa and myself are not fancy, although Alisa's looking pretty fancy in her leopard print there today. But honestly, I don't like things. I don't spend unnecessary amounts of money on brands, and I'm not going to drive a fancy car. I'm not going to, spend money on a Rolex to impress you. Like, that's just not my vibe, right? Again, anybody who knows me and knows my why is I live a very frugal lifestyle because I am working my way towards financial freedom over the next 2 years here, right? And so for me, that is just my way of being. I'm not going to judge other people for, spending the money on the things, or if that's something that fills up their soul, good for them. But at the end of the day, if somebody's going to meet with me in first impressions, you're going to judge me because I'm not wearing, a Gucci purse or whatever you do with those fancy things, then like we're not in alignment. I'm not going to do the fancy things to impress you so that you're going to invest with me. Right. And sometimes people are like, oh, well, I thought you should show up in a suit and dress the part. I'm like, dude, we're not those people. So again, goes back to being authentic.
we came up with these 10 words for our foundation of who we are and like helping our marketing group. And right there at the top is unapologetically authentic. And it would be non-authentic to show up in something because I'm trying to appease someone else. It's just not, we don't have it in us. To be honest with you, like Rochelle and I are different in certain things. I dream of the jet. I dream of the helicopter. I dream of the sports cars because I do like those things, but I'm not doing them because I'm going to show up to show you up. I'm doing them because the only thing I can think about is, man, if I had a jet, think of all the good I could do. I could be offering charities, flights to places. I can be, Rochelle and I could be going and opening up a new city and we can drop down and I don't have to be away from my family as often or as much, or I can go from city to city to see how systems are running. That's why I want the jet, right? And yeah, there's always the little side part. I can't wait to be able to party in one city and then turn around and go party in another one, and then but that's not all of it. I think of all the good that can be done when I can be in more places in quicker time, right? So and that's just it. Like, we just come in and who we are and what we are is what it is. So.
Yeah. Do you want to actually go over, I don't know, we don't have to, but do you want to read the 10 phrases that we came up with that describe our business?
Sure. So they're here in the boardroom with me, right in front of me. So it's unapologetically authentic. Then we have high integrity, innovators, humorous, growth orientated, magnetic, empowering, solution providers, driven, and visionary thought leaders. And this is kind of what we're building out for our team. So they really come in and really understand our culture and who we are. And for you as an individual, this doesn't have to be because you have 80 team members. You can sit down and pick the 10 things or 10 words that are really going to define you and your products and who you are when you sit down with those investors. And then when you're sitting down, if you deviate from those areas, it's not going to go well. You're just going to know it's not going to go well. And like I said, anybody can build this out.
Yeah. And I think if you follow your own instincts, you start to find, like, I don't know, fine tune your gut instinct, or, whether that be the universe speaking or whatever, you just kind of find out. Like, I know when I meet my people, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so our people, right? And it could just be in the language or it could be in the conversation. But, I know we have a lot of millionaire clients who invest millions with us. And if you look at them and you were like putting them in a crowd of people, you would never pick them out as millionaires, right? Because they're like us. They don't do flashy things. They're really smart people, really great, humble people. And it's really interesting. And people are like, what? And sometimes I've met with investors on the road and I've had different sales people, marketing people with us. And I'm like, and they'll, they might say, well, what do they invest with us? I'm like, they're millionaire clients. Like, they literally invest over $1 million in Fundaflip. They're like, what? But they just packed up their French fries, right? And it's just super interesting. And again, I'm like, this is why you can't judge people. You can't just be like, oh, well, they're, wearing Walmart shoes. They probably can't afford to invest with you. Like, don't prejudge people. Like, you don't know people's situation. And it's the same thing with me. Like, half the time I am filled with like dust and dirt from working on projects, and people are like, oh my gosh, Rochelle. And I'm like, I'm a mess. I'm a hot mess. That's just the way I roll. Like, it's okay, right? I'm not here to impress you. Like, it's okay. But sometimes people are like, but you're running a multi-million-dollar company. And I'm like, yes. And I just finished hauling tiles, and I just finished gutting something, and I just finished tiling a project, right? Like, we're multitaskers. That's just, we do what needs to be done.
We always have.
Yeah, we always will.
So Barbara, as one of your investors, I always find myself wanting to do more for you. Is there anything more you need from us, your investors?
We love that. Thank you. Thanks, Barbara. But really, it's just sharing the message. Like, we're here to change people's lives, and we just the bane of my existence right now is when I hear people being like, oh, why didn't I do this 5 years ago? Like, oh my God, if I ran the numbers, that I could have been that much farther ahead. And I always just kind of have to say, like, you know what though? But just be grateful that you found us now and you started now, because you could be 5 years down the road saying, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? And at the end of the day, just remember to keep us, top of mind per se. And if you find that you end up talking to somebody who might be a good fit for us, just share the knowledge, because right now it's so frustrating to me how many people are like, oh my gosh, so many people would be investing with you, or so many more people could invest with you. And I'm like, yeah, but they don't know we exist. And right now that is the bane of my existence. And I'm like, how can we get out to more of the masses so that they know that we're even an option? So just keep us, just keep talking. That's all I got. So.
And so we've got, what is the best strategy for sealing the deal and turning a potential investor into a realized one?
So for us, again, everybody's going to move at their own pace. So we just give as much value and as much information as that person needs. Everybody's different. Right? We have tried to, Alisa and myself and the marketing team have tried to create as much content as we possibly have, or as we possibly can, I should say, so that if it's in a video, we can just share that link, right? And then it goes smoother that way. So.
No, and that, I think, yeah, and I mean, we're not, again, I don't want to partner with people that I strongholded into going into business with us. I don't. I want people to willingly want to be here. That's why our word of mouth is our biggest importer of investors, is because people want to be here. They want to be part of this vision of Journey to a Billion. They want to be part of Rochelle and I's energy and those kinds of things. So I really like sealing the deal. To me is more along the lines of stuff we probably wouldn't really be doing, right? Like it's, we're obviously we're not gonna circle forever, right? Like Rochelle said, here's the information. It's in your court. If you're not gonna, pick up the racket and hit the ball back in the court, there's no help for you. There's nothing we have to offer you. And I'm not gonna browbeat you to do it, right? And neither will Rochelle or her team. It's just not worth the energy, right? And I think that's why we have, what's our investor percentage?
Retention rate?
Yeah, it's very high.
Yeah. It's 95%.
Yeah, like I don't know how many companies and businesses can attest to that. That's a huge percentage.
And I always tell people, I'm like, if somebody, or when somebody starts investing with us, generally they'll be doing their second deal within the first 6 months. Right? And that comes organically. Again, don't forget, we didn't send them an email being like, are you ready for the next one? How about now? We don't do that. But again, we send the monthly newsletter. Maybe they watch the Epic Hour, got some inspiration, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do like that person, or whatever that looks like. And it just happens organically, because if you do something and it works well, why wouldn't you want to do more of that?
Absolutely. It's true. We only have about 5-6 minutes left here. And so I think we should just announce when our next Epic Hour is. We've got Wednesday, November 4th at noon Saskatchewan time, 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, note the time change, folks, because November 1st, what are we in? Falls back. So yeah, so that's something, make sure you mark your calendars and get that out there so that we can totally bring you a new topic. And Rochelle and Bailey will still be on the road, so this will still be fun and entertaining from a different perspective.
Yeah, we'll try to stay overnight in an Airbnb so we have access to better internet and whatever. Right now we're just scamming it off of Walmart, so hence all the people walking on the sidewalk, because we couldn't get reception from the parking lot, so we're literally parking by the front doors. You do what you gotta, guys. You do what you gotta.
All good. You're good, 'cause you're even mobile if somebody comes to bang to tell you to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, Bailey's in the getaway driver's seat here. Yeah. And then also, again, to comment to everybody else, like, don't forget, we want to talk about topics that are relevant to you guys. So please send us topics or questions that you have, because we'd love to be able to formulate our epic hours about that. And then there was one more thing I was going to say. Did I forget it? I think I might have. It's to do with topic next week, epic hour. I don't know. Anyway, might have lost it. Do we have any more questions or comments?
No, or do we? Yeah, I got one more. Just reaching. Okay, so I believe this is Jerry. The knowledge experience you share on social media and epic hours provide those willing to listen great value. Thank you very much for that amazing comment. We really appreciate that. It's funny, when you're working with the right people, and again, when you're presenting yourself to not be in that desperate position where you'll work with anyone, changes everything, right? Sit down, and actually it will help you. People think we're, a little weird, which we love. But honestly, sit down and actually visualize to yourself, not in the physical being, but in the energy being of what would that investor that you're going to partner with be like? Like Rochelle gave that detailed description, right? They're passive, they're living their best life, they're this, they're that, they have access to capital, they have access to HELOC, they have access to this, they're interested in helping a project move forward. Like, list those things out, and you need to tell yourself this, so when you're going on that search, you're gonna gravitate to finding it, right? Yeah. It's defined.
So I remember my comment. So don't forget, Bailey and I are in the Ontario area until about November 8th. So if you're out here and you want to meet, or you have friends or family that might be interested in meeting, let us know. You can email bailey@epicalliance.ca or Rochelle@epicalliance.ca, and we can set that up. Or you can comment on social media, and our marketing team will get you in touch with us too. So we'd love to fit in as many meetings as we can once we finally get to the GTA, and we're hoping to get as far as Ottawa, maybe Quebec. We're just trying to figure out what the parameters are with the whole COVID regulations and everything right now. And the other thing is, what is it? Yeah, just meeting with people. We're hoping to fill up as many meetings. There was something else and I forgot. My brain's all over the place. Okay, I'll try to think of it in the next 2 minutes, but anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if we can recap, or if we want to just, again, sit down, envision what you're needing out of an investor, make it solid, commit to that vision and energy, and you'll be surprised at what happens. I really think. And again, I also would really like to point out, they're people. Investors are people. So again, I think the minute that you start getting out of touch with that concept, it just isn't going to go well, right? If you start thinking about the money before them being people, it's not going to go anywhere, right? And then thirdly, make sure look at you. Whatever higher power you believe in, there's a reason you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth. Rochelle and I have literally created products, and our business came about because we listened. We listened to people's pain points. We listened to what wasn't working. We listened. Hassle-Free was born because all we heard was people say, we don't want to deal with tenants and toilets. We can't do it, but we love cash flow. Okay, what if we could create something where you don't deal with that and you get cash flow? Well, that's a game changer.
Yep, win-win.
Win, right? So those right there, if you focus on those 3 things, you will find investors. And there's one more disclaimer: you have to have a product that is actually going to make some money. We've had people
run your numbers, and make sure that you buy low and you forecast your renovations high if you're flipping, and that your sale price is going to be forecasted low. So if you know that you're going to be able to sell that house for $350, or you think you're going to be able to sell it for $350, just go in at $330, because worst case scenario, if you had to lower it, you have some room,
Yeah.
right? Just make sure your numbers line up, make sure they make sense, make sure you put in those contingencies, because you know shit's going to happen, because look at the world we live in, right? The other thing I was going to say, don't forget, okay, some people might not know this. I'm so stoked about this. We're doing an epic masterclass. So we just filmed everything last week with the crew, and I know the marketing team just let it out. We're doing a sponsored ad in the Toronto and Vancouver markets, and we're trying to educate people about leveraging their equity in their homes to get more hassle-free landlord houses. So, you know, basically I think the ad's like, hey, did you know that you could leverage equity in your current home, borrow your money back from the bank at 3%, turn around, invest in more assets, and make 15% annual rate of return? If you're interested in hearing more, sign up for our free Epic Masterclass. So maybe we'll find out a way on social media where we can share that Epic Masterclass so that people can actually share that with friends or family who might be interested in working with us, because then you can actually get the referral fees instead of it just going through the funnel.
100%.
Okay, we'll figure something out, but I'm so excited. So yeah. Woo. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and we always appreciate you spending your time with us. And if you're watching on the replay, we love you guys too.
Absolutely. Stay epic.
Have a good one.